No one's hearing this, right? This one, what's the easiest way? I only have a few minutes left.
10 minutes.
I'm going to close this.
Okay. Will I stay as an organizer? Will I
Just stay as an organizer.
Okay. I'm just a presenter though, right? Right now.
It's weird how you maximize your screen.
Here, let me try moving it. Do you see any movement?
Move your mouse.
Is that a red connection issue? Is that red thing a connection issue? Oh no.
No.
Yeah, I'm moving my mouse. I'm like moving.
I don't see your mouse.
Okay. So let's just do the organizer thing like yesterday.
So
right.
Like
what's the easiest? We only have 10 more minutes.
Well, can I see your screen?
Yeah.
You can press broadcast, right?
Yeah.
Start broadcasting. I'm just gonna leave this, okay?
Does it need you to be on?
Leave the webinar.
Okay. But I can't record.
It's already recording.
Oh, you're recording?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's your attendees. So if you go back down to, so session is being recorded.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
So I don't know why I can see this. Whose screen is this?
Oh, now viewing ScribbleLive technology screen. Isn't that yours?
Hmm?
It's saying now showing viewing ScribbleLive technology screen chat.
No, you have something behind. There, this is your screen. See what happened?
No.
See what happened? This is your screen.
Yeah, so how do I?
So for your, go full screen. Like, start presentation. It's not taking the full presentation. I don't know.
So how do we do this quickly? Like yesterday.
Okay. Don't know why it's not.
Can we do me as an organizer just like yesterday?
You are an organizer.
Oh, I am?
Yeah.
So what do we do?
Okay. Do you want to, because I don't know why it's not showing.
Should I quit this? Can I close this?
Yeah. Well, this is my computer. Yeah.
Why is this not showing? Can you stop recording and start again? Is that working?
Well, it shows like this.
We might have to just do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not ideal, but we could even crop it, right?
Crop it. Yeah. Crop this.
Oh. Maybe like that. That's okay for now.
Yeah.
It's not ideal, but
You don't want to just put it into presenter mode?
we did, but it's not.
It's not showing.
Let me try it. Let me try one more time here. Play from start.
It's weird.
Okay.
Nothing now, right?
Okay.
You guys can't do full screen?
It's not.
I think it's working, but
It's not showing on Bobby's computer for some reason.
Yeah, I
when
can't
we
see
do
it
full
either. When you go full screen, I can't see it. Could it be that you have more than one monitor connected? I don't know.
No, I just have one. It's weird. Yeah, it's weird. Wait, sharing. Can I share a different window? Can I share my whole screen?
You're sharing.
Could also go off of Google, right? Go full screen.
Go full screen on Google.
See, it's not letting me click on sharing.
Because you have something behind. Like you have something.
You have something else open.
You have something else.
What's behind this? Oh,
Yeah.
no, that's why.
Yeah.
So what's happening this week? So
Yeah, still not allowing. Maybe you have to show like this. There's something behind it. There's a pop-up.
Can you convert it to Google Slides?
not at the point. That's not true. I think we have to just do this.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jose. It's like it's not doing it for some reason.
Yeah.
Are
I was
able
saying that
to-
you could try Google Slides. I don't know, because you have the slides there too, and it has a presentation mode.
Should I try that? I'm just concerned if it closed or just the scrolling aspect. Should I try it?
You haven't changed the slides since you moved it.
No.
I like Google Slides because it's simpler.
Where is this?
Oh, you know what it might be? It might be that you're only showing PowerPoint, but if you show your entire screen, that's what helps. Are you?
Yeah, click on this.
This?
This.
Just as long as you don't have Slack or anything open.
Yeah, I don't.
That would be a mid I would do.
What did it do?
Yeah, it's only allowing you to show. It's not going to allow you to show your entire screen.
Okay.
Yeah,
For
you're
now-
gonna have to just do this.
We're just gonna have to do this. Sorry, Jose.
Okay, no worries. You can always crop it after when you edit the webinar
Yeah.
and send the recording, right?
Yeah, and we'll do that for the recording. So if I'm here, how do I this down, right?
Yeah, I'm seeing everything, so be careful.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you can.
Okay, so we'll just do it like this. Yes, we have a few minutes, guys.
So recording, right? Okay,
Yeah.
it's the recording.
Moving your tea. Oh, spill your tea.
It's weird that it's showing them this screen. I guess we'll start like 1 minute after. Let's give everyone a chance to come in.
Mhm.
53 people on so far. And also talk a bit, for a few minutes, the intro, so the people coming in a few minutes late have some time as well. So we could speak right into we could just speak right into that. And then to move the slides, to move the slides, if you wanted to, like I could do them, you could just gesture to me.
Okay. Pages. I'm an old-fashioned paper person when it comes to certain things.
So we'll figure this out for the next one.
I don't know why you keep blocking me because it's weird.
Does this thing not have juice? No. Does this not have juice? This power cord? Should be okay. I think I have the time.
You're at 2, just so you know.
Okay. So Jose, we'll start in 1 minute.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds good.
How do I start the broadcast?
It's on the top. Right?
But I don't think it's letting me push it. Don't push it yet, but yeah, it's not letting me
So, okay,
It's the same pop-up, I think.
it's the same pop-up as well.
So here's what I'll do. I click Start Broadcast, then I Alt-Tab into the PowerPoint. That's what I did yesterday. Not a great experience, but okay. So I think we're ready to go. You good to go, Jose?
Yep, good to go.
Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining our webinar today on how to launch an effective social selling program. My name is Omar Zaybak. I'm the marketing manager here at ScribbleLive and have the pleasure of being your host today. We've got a great presentation lined up for you, featuring leaders who live and breathe social selling day in and day out. I'm excited to introduce our two featured speakers. First up is Jose Sanchez, VP of Marketing at Sales for Life, a leader in prescriptive training for social and digital selling. I'm also delighted to introduce Kim Babcock, Director of Customer Engagement at Trapit, a software platform that enables social selling and employee advocacy programs. Now, before we get started, I'd like to review some ways you can engage with us during the broadcast. And the first is the Ask a Question button. If there's anything you'd like to ask today's presenters, please click the button and type in your question. We've left time to answer audience questions at the end of the presentation, and we'll get to as many as we can. Secondly, today's webinar will be available on demand, and after we're done, we're going to be emailing you a link with the recording. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get started. So let's talk about the agenda that we have prepared for you today. We're going to start off with the speaker bios to give you a bit more context on who you'll be hearing from. Jose will then give an overview of social selling trends that we're seeing in 2017 and beyond. We'll then dive into the 7 steps of launching your social selling program that covers planning, launching, and measurement. And finally, we've left time for question and answers from the audience, and we'll get to as many as we can take. So let's move on to the bios. Once again, I'd like to thank our two featured presenters for joining us today. We have close to 1,000 people registered, so just judging by that, there's a lot of interest on this topic. First up is Jose Sanchez, who has over a decade of experience in digital marketing, traditional marketing, and content. As VP of Marketing and Sales Operations at Sales for Life, Jose's worked with companies like IBM, Microsoft, SAS, and Thomson Reuters that have been successful in implementing social selling programs. We're also delighted to have Kim Babcock today, who brings 10 years of social business experience across a broad range of programs, including social selling, employee advocacy, social customer service, enterprise social media, and digital communications. She's implemented social selling programs from pilot to launch to expansion in verticals spanning financial services, technology, professional services, and manufacturing. This includes the planning, launch, and growth of an enterprise social selling program at TD Bank Group that's been very successful. She'll be sharing her knowledge of social selling based on many real-life deployments, which should provide you all with a lot of value today. So with the speakers out of the way, I'd now like to pass it over to Jose, who's going to take you through social selling trends.
Thanks so much, Omar. I'm really happy to talk to all of you today. Great to see the great turnout for the session and to see how much interest there is in social. And before we start digging deeper into how to implement a social selling program, let me set the stage for the conversation today. And I don't want to beat a dead horse, but we know that buyers have changed. We know that buyers are social in nature, are digitally enabled. You can see some stats on the screen right now that outline this change. 75% of B2B buyers now use social media to research vendors. This is a stat by IDC. 90% of today's B2B buyers never respond to cold outreach, a stat by Harvard Business Review, and a very well-known stat by CEV outlining how 57% of B2B buyers are already at the majority of their journey before making the decision to talk to sales. This reality basically outlines that buyers are in control of the journey today. And companies are facing a challenge of reaching them earlier in that journey of becoming socially enabled, digitally enabled in order to succeed, in order to build pipeline and ultimately close sales. Sales professionals and marketers have to meet them where they are. We have to adapt or be replaced. A stat that's not on the screen right now is by Forrester, which predicts that 1 million B2B salespeople will disappear by 2020. And if you Google the stat, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. And this is because of the shift in buying behaviors. Only the most consultative salespeople, only the most digital and socially enabled salespeople will be able to survive. Only those who add value first. So if we can go to the next slide, Omar. I can dig a little bit deeper into the benefits of that those who adopt social are already seeing in their process. So teams who embrace social selling fill pipeline 28% faster. And not only do they fill pipeline faster, but they also hit revenue goals more than non-social sellers. And all of these numbers come from the research that Sales for Life conducted after talking to 515 individuals. Out of those individuals, the majority of them were sales leaders, and the rest were marketing or other key roles within the revenue process. And what we found might seem surprising, but even though the results are there, only a minority of those B2B salespeople are actually implementing social selling formally. But I'll let Kim, now that we know the reality of the changes in the B2B buying process, and that we understand the value of social in generating pipeline and revenue, I'll let Kim elaborate a little bit more and start the conversation around how to implement social. Kim?
Thank you, Jose, for painting such a compelling picture. It is so clear for all of us as we look to both our personal and our professional lives that social and digital interactions are now established as a persistent, two-way, really participatory layer in how we do business and how we communicate and engage with others. And it is an absolute imperative to be a part of the communities, the conversations, and the networks where our customers already are, listening, engaging, and sharing real-time and relevant content. This helps to, as Jose said, really add value and authentically build trust and relationships. So critical to engaging with the modern buyer. And a successful social selling program is really going to help you to do this at scale. Really integrate social and digital into your marketing and sales organization. So what we want to talk about is really some steps in how you can launch a successful social selling program. Ultimately, it's not about a tool or technology or a set of tools or even just encouraging your team to be active on social. It's about helping your sales organization transform how you engage and build relationships. And this requires a real behavior change for sales reps, but also for your marketing and your sales leadership. And so it's really about driving that change and building a program to support that. And we want to walk you through that. And I think one of the things that's important to recognize is many of you and your organizations are at different stages. Some organizations haven't even begun to think about the value of social and social selling for your organization. And in some cases, you've got sales reps that are starting to use social. Some are seeing some success. Or you've started to really build programs within your teams and you're looking for ways to really deploy it at scale and really drive that deep level of sales and marketing integration that we know is so important to build a successful social selling program. So, really taking the time to understand where you are will help you establish your goals and objectives. The last thing you want to be doing is building a social selling program because it is, the latest buzzword in our industry or, that shiny object on the top of the marketing trends list for the year. You really need to build that compelling business case and demonstrate the reason for change. And that helps to build the business case, but it also helps to drive adoption and the change within your organization. So driving the need for change, not just at the leadership level, but also for sales reps and the marketing organization. And some of the stats that Jose has shared can really help you to build that business case. So you want to be able to really set those goals and objectives that are aligned to where you are. So, it may be about enabling your sales team with the intelligence through content and social listening to really engage your buyers with insights. Also helping your sales team to build their personal brand and really position themselves as experts. So, there's a number of really specific goals you can set depending on where you are. And it might be, how do you scale? How do you scale it across your existing businesses that are seeing success and more broadly across the organization? I think the big message is really make sure you understand your goals and make sure they're aligned to where you are within your organization. You don't want to leapfrog to stage 5 when really you're trying to see the value and build that business case. So I think that is really an important first step. Anything else that you'd add there, Jose?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to emphasize your message, Kim, that if your goal is to change the behaviors of your sales team to align with the modern buyer, then you need to have a proper plan in place. As Kim pointed out, this starts by understanding the current state of your organization and where you want your sales organization to go. So the visual that you see on the screen that Sales for Life developed, it's only an example of the stages that you can find in your company and where you can go next.
Great, thank you. So I think, moving on, we want to talk about step 2, which is really about assessing your readiness. So really digging deep on some of the core elements of what it takes to build a program. Really it should be broken down across your organization into your business functional areas as well as your people, because they're a big part of that change. So I just wanted to touch at a high level on some of these elements of readiness. So I'll lead with executive engagement, and we certainly talk a lot about that with our customers, and I know Sales for Life talks a lot about that. It is absolutely key to building a program, and it's not just about sponsorship and an executive signing on the purchase order and investing the funds. It's about that deep level of engagement, and it's about bringing the right stakeholders to the table. That is so critical, getting the buy-in and the engagement across the organization, and really leading by example. And I think with social selling, unique to other change initiatives, actually demonstrating the behavior that you're trying to drive towards. So, just a small example, you want to make sure your executives are on social, that they're comfortable with social, that they're using it and demonstrating those behaviors themselves. You might want to tailor training a little bit differently. Sometimes one-on-one can help. And some of the things I found successful personally, and I know some of our customers have found successful, is through like a reverse mentoring program. So maybe look to some of your early adopters in your organization that can help to really level up your executives to really demonstrate the value. And it's the effort up front that can really help to drive and remove barriers to change as you continue to build your program. I can't emphasize the executive piece enough, because it leads really well into the stakeholder engagement. Once you've got the executive alignment and that sponsorship in place, they can help to bring in the right stakeholders. And the stakeholders, depending on your organization, depending on the level of regulatory considerations, you absolutely want to get legal and compliance engaged in part of the process. HR, really important. They may play a role when it comes to training. And then marketing and sales leadership, obviously, are absolutely critical. The other element that I think is important to really consider is governance. As you engage your stakeholders, you will start to identify those risks and understand what you need to do to mitigate those risks. Governance is something we can talk about for some time. I'm just going to touch on at a high level that it may include your content strategy, how you create and curate content, as well as your training. And I think one of the most important elements is making sure you've got a clear social media policy in place with guidelines that really help to bring it to life. You want to help your organization and your sales reps and really enable them to be successful on social. You may be moving from an environment where the policy originally was do nothing on social. Now you're trying to teach and enable. So really focus on the do's with examples that can help bring it to life. And it also can really help to boost the confidence with your sales organization and what they can do through effective governance. Obviously, from a business perspective, you want to have marketing and sales working together. We'll touch later on that buyer-focused content strategy, how social selling can work in the context of your existing social media strategy is really important. And then think about measurement and reporting from a readiness perspective. You want to look at how you're measuring social media today and your content and sales activities, and how you'll be able to integrate and align social selling into that reporting. Really important. And the last piece that we want to touch on, which really sets the foundation for training and adoption, is assessing your people. So understanding where your organization is, specifically the sales team, in using social media. I think the important piece is considering, does your sales team actually understand the why and the value of content and social media? You know, some of those compelling stats we've talked about. Understanding that their buyer is using social and digital, and that why and the value piece will be critical to then leading to, you know, how are they using content and social media effectively for their roles, and really those best practices. So that's really how training can come to life. And I would say, you know, just one last piece to add on the people side is finding, you know, when you're assessing your readiness, find those early adopters, because they will absolutely be your key champions of change. And we'll touch on the element, we're not going to talk too much about technology and tools today, but the program management through the subsequent steps really comes to life in terms of resourcing. So we'll get into more details there. Anything else you would add, Jose?
Yeah, Kim, so I couldn't agree more with what you just said. I think in our experience working with Intel, with IBM, with Oracle, driving change is hard. It's not an easy task. And it's important, like you said, to identify those change agents, creating executive buy-in, and making sure that all of the key stakeholders that will be involved in the rollout of the social selling program are there, that your marketing team is enrolled, that your sales team is involved, sales enablement, sales operations, anyone that is in charge of helping your sales force get to where they have to get. We're talking here about building a different mindset, a different skill set, and ultimately adopting new technology. So it's important to have all of those pieces in place to create that behavioral change at scale.
Yeah, agreed. Absolutely agreed. So the next step really gets into, you know, as we've touched on, some of those key roles. And the big message I would share here is you don't want to think about this as a project. It really is building a program, and that's making sure you have the right roles and resources in place to manage and really bring to life that program from launch through to scaling and optimizing that program. So just touching on some of the key roles, we talked about the executive sponsor, the program manager, absolutely one of the keys to building a successful program. And it's not someone who comes with just, you know, the program management skills and capabilities of tracking all those key deliverables and the reporting. You want to find someone, and those someones really exist in a lot of organizations. In fact, probably you're on the phone right now joining this webinar. It's some, you know, that individual who really has that knowledge about sales, really understands the sales organization, has credibility within the sales organization, but also has that understanding of marketing and social media, and really passion for the opportunity to really incite that change and get people excited about the opportunity. A communicator, someone who is great at building relationships and really moving that momentum on the program. And, you know, many people ask, where should this role sit? It depends on the organization. It may be in sales or marketing. The key is making sure you've got that right resource. And I would say I have, and I continue to meet some incredible program managers that really embody all of these. You know, this skill set exists in many organizations, and you know, those that I know are absolute rock stars driving incredible change at their organization. So such an important role that will really bring things to life. The other roles I would touch on, obviously having marketing at the table. Marketing is such an important role when it comes to really building that content strategy and creating and curating the right content for the sales team. And marketing brings that industry and buyer journey expertise to the table, may understand social networks and, you know, what are the right social networks for your organization and choosing them. Having sales leadership, you know, I would say that's the same from, you know, depending on where the executive sponsorship is, having sales leadership at the table. We see lots of organizations where social selling efforts are being led by by the marketing team, which is great and can really work to bring it to life, but make sure you get sales leadership there. You know, we've got organizations that are tracking, they've got the VP of sales that are tracking, you know, metrics on a regular basis and really demonstrating that behavior. You know, training and adoption support, getting the right resources, absolutely important. So, Jose, anything else you would add? I know that we've talked a lot about sales enablement as a really important role.
Yeah, I think we can't forget about the role of sales enablement and operations. And this is a relatively new team for many companies. The term sales enablement can change and the responsibilities can change by company. But in the end, what we need is someone that is in charge of providing sales with the right content and the right technology. Marketing can provide content. Marketing can provide those insights that spark conversations with buyers. But sales enablement is ensuring that they have the later stage funnel content, product content, the playbooks, the cadences, the sales cadences, the kickoffs, and the speakers that get them inspired to start working on the project. So sales enablement, we need that ownership of the content and the technology piece. And in a lot of cases, this team is also involved with training and with education, like Kim pointed out. So ultimately, the focus of assigning roles is ensuring that sales teams have the right ownership and accountability around the outcomes that you need. So you need an ownership and accountability around every aspect of the program. And that's the importance of assigning those roles.
Excellent. So moving into step 4, absolutely critical to success is developing that buyer-focused content strategy. Social selling is not a way to get, you know, product-related, you know, spec sheets out through social channels. It's about deeply understanding your buyer. And I would say content is absolutely the key to fueling a social selling program. Buyers, as we talked about in the beginning, are looking for vendors and sales reps to be experts, trusted advisors, and to really share valuable new insights. And content, absolutely the right content is key to enable this. And while sharing content on social is absolutely critical and doing it in the right way, the content strategy also helps to inform your sales reps how to engage your buyer. So it's not just about leveraging that content on social channels, but using the insights from that content for better conversations, for better outreach, and better engagement with your buyers to really deepen that relationship. So, you know, research and listening through content should absolutely be part of the strategy to really give your sales reps the intelligence to engage your buyer with insights. So, you know, the content strategy starts with deeply understanding your buyer and their journey. So who is the audience you're trying to engage with? You know, ask yourself those questions about what roles do they have in the organization? What's top of mind for them? What problems can you solve for your buyers? And, you know, what stage of the buyer journey are they in? What are some of their obstacles to buying? How do they decide to buy? Is it about price? Is it about, you know, deeply understanding their business? And by asking those questions, you're better understanding your buyer to really build that foundation for your content strategy. Jose, I know you've highlighted some really important key documents for bringing this to life.
Yeah, so I think all of these outcomes or this research and strategic work around content can be summarized in 2 key documents: your buyer persona research and the buying journey. And I can't emphasize enough on the importance of doing a scientific process for building your buyer personas, understanding your buyers, and understanding the journey that they go through. There's many frameworks on how to document buyer personas. I'm not going to dig too deep into this, but the end goal is to understand their background, their demographic, their goals, their challenges, as Kim pointed out, and any other elements that define their role in a company. So, and mapping their journey is also important because it helps us identify the key questions and the objections that they have at every stage of that journey. Your content strategy should ensure that those buyers have the right content at the right time. If you haven't answered any of the questions or objections that buyers have at the beginning of the journey, before they are aware of the problem that they have, down to when they're deciding between vendors for the product or service that you sell, if you don't have the right content at the right time, your work is not complete. So it's important to do that research to understand the buyer and all the stages that they go through before engaging with your marketing or sales teams. Kim?
Absolutely, and the one piece I would also add, which we've talked about a fair bit, is the value of third-party content. So through your content strategy, actually identifying the right content that you want to create from your brand perspective, and that really is focused on your buyer, but also including that right mix of third-party content. It really helps to position you as that go-to resource, that expert. It makes you more relevant to your buyers, and it earns you that opportunity, I would say, to share your brand content because they're listening. They're seeing you as adding value, and that's really important. Certainly lots of guidelines in the industry on what the right balance is. I would say ultimately it's about finding that balance and not, overemphasizing your own content, but continuing to ask yourself, am I adding value, and is this useful content that I am sharing with my network? Yep. So the next piece really gets into planning for your launch. As you really focus on these key elements, we talked about the stakeholders and governance, your content strategy. Other elements are, thinking about your timing, finding the right timeline for launch. Your plan wants to consider that. You want to develop a realistic timeline that people can buy into. The last thing you want to do is plan your training and, consider if there's any other conflicting priorities. The last thing you want to do is book a training, your kickoff and your training for a social selling program at the end of quarter when the sales team is really focused on meeting those goals. So find a time that really makes best, that you want to ensure that people are engaged and have the mindset to focus. So timing, I think, is really critical. And getting that communications plan in place. And that communication plan is about communicating around the launch, but also ongoing communications to continue to keep your stakeholders engaged. If you engage, HR and legal through the process, making sure they're tracking with how you're doing. And it will also be key to ongoing promotion of the plan. It's not about once and done with launch. And then planning for training and adoption activities. We're going to get into a bit more detail on training your team. But as you think about communications and adoption, I touched on this earlier, finding those early adopters to really make them your change agent. So it's not just you as a program manager leading the program and doing all of the communications. As soon as you start to get successful sales reps telling the stories of how social selling is really accelerating, building their pipeline, accelerating engagement with their buyers, that really will help to bring the program to life. And finding and celebrating those early success stories is absolutely critical. And I would, emphasize providing ongoing support. Again, not once and done. Find those avenues to continue to share and reinforce best practices. So, Jose, anything else you would add to the planning side? I know, we'll talk a lot about that when we get into training your team in the next step. But anything to add?
Yeah, no, the only thing I would add is that the details of the plan change depending on the reality of the company. You have to assess your current state and define where you want to go. So the plan can change depending on that, but there has to be a proper plan in place. That's the key. And I think this is a nice segue into the next slide, as you said, Kim. Yeah, so what you see on the screen right now is a sample roadmap that we have used for some of our clients at Sales for Life. The key takeaway here is that there are different components in the plan. Notice the importance of each of the steps that we have outlined during this session. So it's important at the beginning, within the first 60 days, to have a governance and program set up in place. Within governance, you have to define the right people, the right process, and the right technology that are going to be part of the program. You have to set up measurement. You have to enable reporting. And for those who think that there's a lot of text on the slides, we will be sharing the recording of the session after the webinar. So you can listen in and rest assured that you'll have the details for each of the slides after. So as I said, you have to have the right steps and the right components of the plan set up at the beginning of the program in the first 60 days, including governance, including the right people, process, and technology that will be deployed during the program. You have to work with sales leadership to an enablement to integrate social into the overall sales process. You have to ensure leadership buy-in, and this is sort of a summary of a lot of the points that we've talked about today. And you have to train leaders. They have to lead by example. You have to train leaders, both executives and frontline managers, into how to use social within the sales process. Then you have to train your team. And as you train your team, as the second phase of the program, you can start identifying future teams to be trained in social selling. And the last piece within the probably the last last month of the first 6 months of the program, you can start reviewing results and beginning the training of additional teams. The key here is that you have a setup process, an assessment process of putting all the pieces in place. You're building a case with the first team that you train, and once you see success, you can scale. One thing that I think shouldn't be forgotten is the reinforcement of the program. Repetition is the mother of all learning, and you need to ensure that social selling strategies continue to be followed in your company. It's not a spray and pray approach. It's not a spray and forget approach. In the end, our job is to ensure that sales professionals and their leaders have the right mindset, skill set, and tool set. And I can say this enough. You have to ensure that they stay with the right mindset, the right skill set, and the right tool set to succeed as digital sellers, digital and social sellers. Kim?
Yeah, that's great. I love, Jose, that you highlighted frontline managers. We talked a lot about the importance of engaging sales reps and leadership. And I can certainly share from experience, if you miss that step, that's a huge challenge, because they're really focused on the day-to-day efforts and cadences for sales teams and ensuring they're bought in. And it's classic change management. That group is absolutely critical to driving change. So really important to highlight that and make that part of your plan. The only thing I would add is, and just reinforce, is it's the quality social selling training is a key part of building a strategic and successful social selling program. As you've mentioned, it's not about a lunch and learn or just bringing in a guest speaker to talk about some best practices and tactics. You're changing mindset and really making sure you've got that ongoing education and dialogue with the sales organization to set that foundation. It's not once and done. It really becomes how your sales organization is selling to engage the modern buyer. So I really love this framework and approach. So.
Awesome. Yeah, so if we can move to the next slide. And I think the last piece in this 7-step process is to evaluate the performance. It's incorporated into the plan that we saw before. I won't dive too deep on this, but I think it's important to understand at every stage of the deployment of the program to understand what's happening. Are the salespeople enjoying the training? Are they actually learning, and did the knowledge transfer occur? Are the learners actually changing their behavior, and are we seeing a growth in their social network? Are they seeing an actual ROI? I think there's leading indicators of success. There's current indicators of success. And in the end, you also want to know, obviously, the lagging indicators of success. Are there opportunities attributed to social within their CRM? Are there opportunities being influenced by social within their CRM? And not to brag about what we do, but for every program that we launch, we ensure that CRM is tracking all of the activity that the sales professionals perform in social channels. This is key to really know if your plan is succeeding and if social is influencing pipe and revenue. Anything you want to add, Kim?
I think that's a great point, because also ultimately it's about integrating those metrics into what's already being measured and what sales leadership is looking at, which will help to reinforce the behavior and also demonstrate the value. So I love that you really reinforce that piece. The only other piece I would add is it's about measuring what makes sense based on where you are in your program. Measuring, direct ROI business results early in the enablement stage can be really challenging. So you want to measure, the training, to your point, looking at are people enjoying and finding value in the training, and which is also going to be a key driver of adoption. So as the sales team is really getting enabled and starting to adopt, and you mentioned those leading indicators are really important as you drive towards the business metrics, which is really critical to see value in the program. So.
Yeah, so thanks for sharing those insights, Kim and Jose. That was really insightful. So next up, we're gonna have Kim and Jose introduce their respective companies, and then we're gonna dive right into questions and answers. So Jose, take it away.
Yeah, I don't want to dive too deep in this, but I just wanted to remind you, the audience, that SocialLive has helped organizations transform from analog to digital, has helped them adopt digital and social within their sales process. We've worked with 75,000 sales professionals at companies like Sprint, Intel, SAS, CA Technologies, IBM, Oracle. There's more than 300 on the list. And we have helped them, and if you can move to the next slide, Omar, we have helped them do exactly what we described today. We have helped them create awareness around social and the importance of social in their organization. We have keynotes and workshops that we offer to kickstart this process. We have helped them build a case with audits and assessments and with pilots of social selling deployment. And we have helped them scale. I think you can do this on your own. Companies have done this on their own. But the importance here is to act with speed. And that's what SocialLive helps do. We help them break through the noise and get to what works faster. So without getting too deep into selling what we do, that's how we can help. And if any of you wants to get in touch with us, you can just land on our website, schedule a consultation, and we'll be happy to talk with you.
Thanks a lot, Jose. And moving on to Kim to introduce Trapit.
Awesome. Thank you, Omar. And again, I'm not going to spend too much time here. We touched a little bit in assessing your readiness is looking as technology and tools as an enabler. We're huge believers at Trapit that it's about building a program. And Trapit is a tool that can enable that program. And really, it's a tool that can help you to engage buyers throughout their journey. By helping you discover relevant content. So Trapit includes the ability to discover and curate relevant content using our artificial intelligence and search capabilities to ensure that the team is enabled with the right content. And super easy to use, flattening barriers to adoption. So, happy to chat. Omar's included some my social contact details. Would love to chat further on LinkedIn, Twitter, or via email. The other piece I would highlight is just our approach to customer success isn't about the product or just providing support. It's about the guidance and consultation to build that successful social selling program. So would love to chat further.
Thanks a lot, Kim. And moving on to our question and answer section. So we have a bunch of questions that are coming in. I'd encourage you to ask all your questions. Any we don't get to, we'll follow up with you afterwards. So let's get started. And Jose, this first question's for you. And it's, how do you measure the success of social selling and track it in a CRM?
Yeah, so just to dive a little bit deeper on what we talked about earlier, and thanks for the question, whoever asked. So there's leading, current, and lagging indicators. For the leading indicators of success, you want to know if your sales team is actually, first assess if they know how to use social. If they know how to use social, if they're getting trained on how to use social, are they enjoying the training? As a current indicator of success, you want to know if they are actually sharing content, if they're having conversations on social with buyers, if they're growing their network. And then the lagging indicators are actually the most important ones. It's about pipeline and revenue. What leads are influenced by social? What leads are being influenced by social? And ultimately, what deals have been closed as a result of social? So that's the best way to track. When it comes to technology, CRM and marketing automation are great tools that could be set up to track all of these metrics. We've done this work, and it's relatively simple. So yeah, that's a summary of how to do it.
Oh, thanks, Jose. Kim, this next one's for you, and I think you touched on this in an earlier slide. When's the right time to engage stakeholders like HR and legal?
That's a good question. Really good question. I feel like it is a bit of an art and a fine balance. Choosing the right time to engage stakeholders is absolutely critical. often if it's too early and you reach out to legal saying, hey, we want to enable our employees on social media, what do you think? It might absolutely kill the momentum of your program because you haven't taken the time to think about the risks and be able to address those risks and understand how your program and governance can look to manage and mitigate those risks. So, make sure you do the research up front with your stakeholders. Working through a stakeholder plan to understand how engaged they are, how aware they are of the value. And, I'd say if you haven't started to build that business case and really get that executive engagement and that sponsorship in place, it's definitely too early to start to engage your stakeholders. But you don't want to wait too long because if you are waiting too long, that can also put some roadblocks in as you're getting close to launch. If you haven't talked to HR and made sure that they're comfortable, or engaging them to support with from a training or your communications team, really important. So it's about the right balance. You want to work with your stakeholders to help them understand the value, and also take the time to listen to their expertise. They can, ask questions and help you with things you may not have thought about, which is super important, especially if you're working in a highly regulated industry where there is, a fair bit of risk to manage. So you want to really harness their expertise to help build that better program. So finding, that not too early, make sure you understand the value you're delivering to the organization, but do not wait till you're communicating a launch plan. But happy to chat further with anybody on that because I do believe it is an art to find that right time.
Thanks, Kim. Jose, this one's for you. Really good question here. How do I convince my team about the value of social selling and sell it internally?
So that's a good question, and it changes by company. The important thing is to build a case, as Kim pointed out earlier in the conversation. It's important to know why social selling is important, what's the current state of the market, and maybe take a look at what companies that are similar to yours have done with social. If you take a look at Social Life case study section, that might be helpful to understand the value that social has driven for specific companies. But it comes down to highlighting the why, highlighting the impact that social can have in pipeline and revenue.
Thanks, Jose. So we have time for 2 more questions. This one's for you, Kim. You talked about the importance of sharing third-party content. Yeah. Can you share why third-party content is so valuable to a social selling program?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. I think third-party content is absolutely key to your program to really support the social selling program. I think for 3 key reasons I would highlight. Social listening or content listening, whatever we want to call it. It's about staying on top of what's going on in your industry, business trends, but also the industries of the verticals that you're targeting, where your key counts might be. So making sure you're using that content to build your knowledge and expertise, to be able to stay relevant and be that expert and be that trusted advisor with your buyers. It helps you also tune into buying triggers and knowing what's going on within a specific industry, how things are changing, and what kind of challenges that your buyers are facing and what their priorities are. So really leveraging that content from the research and listening perspective first. I think that's your first step with third-party content. And that leads then into sharing third-party content. And it's obviously a key part of finding that right balance to build credibility in the social space. So sharing it effectively through social channels on LinkedIn, on Twitter, wherever it makes sense for your industry. And it helps you to, like I said, to build that credibility. You're consuming the content, you're able to share added insights. So don't just share for the sake of sharing, but really add that extra value and why you think that content is valuable. But you can also share it one-to-one. Use that content to continue to nurture, engage with your buyers through a long buying cycle. And I think third party is so much important. I read this article, I thought you'd find it useful. And it doesn't necessarily need to be really specific to your product and what you're selling, but what's relevant to them and their role. I mean, we'll share a personal example. We've got a customer who's building out an influencer marketing strategy, and I regularly share articles that I come across that I find useful, and it's really building that relationship. It's so important. And the last piece, I think, is it really earns you the opportunity to authentically and impactfully share your own brand content. We hear time and time again that that's why buyers are listening and paying attention to you on social channels, because you are consistently sharing relevant content that's meaningful to them. So when you do share your own posts or pieces of content that are aligned to your brand, it is absolutely that much more authentic, and people are more inclined to listen to you.
Thanks for that, Kim. And we have time for one more question, and this one's for you, Jose. How do I integrate social into my existing sales process?
This is a great question, because a lot of companies seem to have the dilemma of whether I should use social or the phone or email. And I think it's really important to understand that social is another layer within your existing sales process. The phone isn't dead. Email isn't dead. It's really about approaching the buyer where they are. Sometimes a buyer uses email, sometimes they're on the phone. But you have to understand what the right channel is and at what time you're using it. So integrating social is really about looking at that buying journey and thinking about when social is pertinent in that process. At ScribbleLive, with our clients, what we've done is that we have built a prescriptive sales process that incorporates social, and we teach that to our clients. We've eliminated the confusion of thousands of social social tactics out there, of digital tactics out there, and we have sort of streamlined the process into a single routine to implement social in a prescriptive manner. But it comes down to really aligning with where the buyer is.
Thanks, Jose. And that's all the time we have for questions today. I'd like to thank everyone for attending the webinar. As we mentioned at the start, today's webinar will be available for on-demand viewing via a link that we're going to send to your emails that you used to register. And we invite you to share it with others in your organization. If you'd like to learn more about what we discussed today, please feel free to reach out to any one of us. Our emails are shown on your screen right now. Thanks again for your time, and we hope the webinar was valuable. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, Omar.
Thank you.